Mom visits her son in the school lunchroom. Then she saw what teachers had done and was outraged. A school is said to be a child's second home. This is where they're supposed to learn things that will mold them for the world that's waiting outside, and would pave the way to make them better adults. They're going to be in school for almost their entire early life, and they'll acquire values they will hold on to as they grow up. That's why it's very vital to the growth and wellness of a child to be in the right school. Imagine finding out that your child's school, the one that you thought would nurture your child, decided to shame them in front of all of their classmates because you, as their parent, were sick and your car broke down. Talk about having a bad day. But that's exactly what happened to Nicole Garloff and her 6-year-old son, Hunter Camello, from the Southern Oregon community of Grants Pass. Nicole was suffering from a health condition, and to add insult to injury, the family car decided it would take that precise time to stop working. Since riding the bus wasn't possible, she did the best she could to get her son down the street to Lincoln Elementary School, but he arrived a few minutes late. Nicole felt bad for her son as she watched him go into the school crying. She knew he would face detention. This time, the extenuating family circumstances certainly weren't his fault. Sometimes Hunter isn't ready, but most often the tardiness is not his fault. Nicole suffers from osteoporosis, which makes it painful and difficult for her to function, especially in the morning. She decided she would go to the school at lunchtime to check on him and lift his spirits if she could. Nicole walked into the lunchroom and was stunned to find her son separated off from the other children in the school. He sat with a white partition in front of him, blocking him from seeing the other kids. A cup with the letter D for detention sat in front of him to further shame him. Hunter was publicly ostracized and humiliated. He sat crying and alone. The punishment seemed far too severe. Nicole said he was rarely late and hadn't arrived late enough to have to make up his assignments. Nicole could barely believe her eyes, but she wasn't about to let what happened to her son go unnoticed. She went and got her iPad and took pictures as Hunter sat in his cubicle of shame. Hunter's grandmother shared the pictures on Facebook, where it quickly outraged the internet. The post generated over 75,000 shares with a description of what happened. "This is my grandson Hunter. He is a little first grader. His mama's car sometimes doesn't like to start right up. Sometimes he's a couple minutes late to school. Yesterday he was 1 minute late, and this is what his mama discovered that they do to punish him. They have done this to him 6 times for something that is out of the baby's control. They make a mockery of him in front of the other students. The principal is responsible for this. His mom found him there crying and took him home for the day. Anyone want to help me flood this lady principal with calls telling her how inappropriate this is?" The school's detention policy was in a red-hot spotlight. It appeared that the school's policy had bullied Hunter, and the internet wasn't having any of it. According to Snopes, the school district was flooded with angry calls, and the school's Facebook page was rated only 1 out of 5 stars. Meanwhile, the family didn't realize it, but strangers had come together to help them with their car problems. When they showed up to pick up their car from the repair shop, they got a big surprise. Hunter's father, Mark Camello, fully expected to get more bad news about the car. Instead, the auto dealer had joined forces with multiple people in the community to buy them another vehicle and make sure it would be dependable. Businesses in Medford, Oregon and Grants Pass, as well as local radio host Bill Mayer, came together to chip in. People across the community also chipped in to help pay for maintenance, a year's worth of oil changes, as well as a $100 gas card. "You see that minivan sitting right there?" asked Lisa McLeese Kelly of Kelly's Automotive Service. "That's yours," she said, as she handed Mark the keys to a Chrysler minivan. The dad was in awe upon hearing what Lisa said. He completely did not expect that something like this would happen to them. His faith in humanity was restored. "I'm just blown away to see the community come together like this and see that there's still good people out there," said the happy father, Mark. "People really care," he said. They were shocked. It didn't seem real. Nicole was trying to tell her son that this doesn't just happen to anyone. In addition to receiving a vehicle that would make sure Hunter got to school on time, attention from the story changed the way the school handled their detention policies. They designated a supervised classroom so kids wouldn't be shamed in front of all the other schoolmates. The Grants Pass district stated that the policy in question was never intended to isolate or stigmatize students. While the family didn't expect to receive such kindness and assistance, they did hope speaking out about their son's situation would force the school to rethink their tardiness policy and how they handle it. Needless to say, they got the school's attention. They've agreed to revise their actions when it comes to publicly isolating late students. Hopefully, the school will also be a little more lenient when it comes to punishing late students who have extenuating family circumstances, and that other schools would probably practice the same. If we've learned anything from this story, it's that everyone has their own struggle, and that sometimes speaking out and sharing your story can make a huge difference. It's good to face your problems on your own, but speaking out is not such a bad thing after all.